Once upon a time, in a small dusty town, lived a young girl named Anna. She was an orphan, a whisper of a child with eyes that held a quiet sadness but also a resilient spark. Life in the orphanage was not easy, a constant struggle for warmth, for a kind word, for a piece of bread that felt like it was truly hers. The other children, perhaps hardened by their own lonely stories, often found an easy target in Anna's gentle nature. They would mock her worn-out clothes, hide her precious few belongings, and leave her out of their games, their laughter echoing like a painful melody in the lonely corridors of her world. Anna learned early that cruelty could come in many forms, sometimes as a sharp word, other times as the cold silence of being ignored completely. Among all the children who teased her, one boy named Marco was the most relentless. He was the ringleader of her torment, his words sharper than stones, his taunts leaving invisible wounds that stung more than any physical blow. He would snatch her drawings, the only escape she had, and tear them into pieces, scattering her colorful dreams onto the drab gray floor of the orphanage yard. He called her names that chipped away at her spirit, making her feel small and insignificant. Yet, even as tears streamed down her face in the quiet of the night, Anna held on to a secret strength, a refusal to let their bitterness poison the garden of her own heart. She promised herself she would not become like them. Even in the face of such daily unkindness, Anna found solace in small acts of goodness. She would share her meager portion of food with a younger child who was crying from hunger, even if it meant her own stomach would rumble louder. She would tend to the small patch of wilting flowers behind the orphanage, whispering words of encouragement to the drooping petals, seeing a reflection of her own struggle and resilience in them. These simple gestures were her rebellion against the harshness surrounding her. They were a quiet declaration that even in the darkest of places, a small light of compassion could not only survive, but also flicker with unwavering determination, a testament to the goodness she chose to nurture within herself. This choice to remain kind was not an easy one. There were days when the weight of the loneliness and the cruelty felt too heavy to bear, when the temptation to lash out, to return the hurt she received, was almost overwhelming. She would clench her small fists until her knuckles turned white, fighting the urge to scream. But then she would remember the warmth of the sun on the flowers, or the grateful smile of the child she had helped. She understood, with a wisdom far beyond her years, that responding with anger would only add more darkness to the world. And so, she chose a different path, a harder path, the path of a kind heart in a world that was often anything but. As the years passed, Anna's determination became her greatest asset. She poured all her energy and focus into her studies, seeing books not just as sources of knowledge, but as tickets to a different life, a world beyond the gray walls of the orphanage. While other children played, Anna could be found in the corner of the small library, her head bowed over textbooks, her mind absorbing every word, every formula, every historical date. She knew that education was the key that could unlock doors that were currently sealed shut to a poor orphan like her. Each page she turned was a step away from her painful past and a step towards a future she was determined to build with her own two hands and a mind sharpened by relentless effort. Her hard work did not go unnoticed. A kind teacher saw the fire in Anna's eyes and became her mentor, providing her with extra books and encouragement. This small act of belief from someone else was like water to a thirsty plant, and Anna blossomed under the guidance. She excelled in school, winning academic competitions and earning a scholarship to a prestigious university. It was a monumental achievement, a testament to her unwavering spirit. Leaving the orphanage was bittersweet. She was leaving behind the only home she had ever known, with all its painful memories. But she was stepping into a world of possibility, a world where she was no longer defined as the orphan, but as a promising student with a bright future ahead of her. University life was a new challenge, but Anna faced it with the same grit and grace she had always possessed. She juggled her demanding coursework with part-time jobs, often working late into the night to support herself. There were moments of doubt and exhaustion, moments when she missed the simple, if painful, structure of her old life. Yet, the memory of her past served not as an anchor, but as fuel. She remembered the sting of Marco's taunts and the coldness of being alone, and it pushed her to work harder, to strive for more, to prove to herself and to the world that her circumstances would not dictate her destiny. She was the author of her own story now, and she was writing a chapter of triumph. Through sheer perseverance and an unyielding belief in herself, Anna graduated at the top of her class. She had transformed herself from a timid, overlooked orphan into a confident, brilliant young woman. She had not only acquired a degree, but had also cultivated a deep sense of empathy and understanding, qualities forged in the fires of her difficult childhood. The seeds of kindness she had refused to let die in the barren soil of the orphanage had now grown into a mighty tree of character, its roots deep in resilience and its branches reaching towards a sky that was no longer gray and oppressive, but filled with limitless potential and the promise of a sun-drenched tomorrow. With her degree in hand and a heart full of ambition, Anna entered the business world. She started small with a bold idea and a business plan she had meticulously crafted during sleepless university nights. Her company, which she named Alpas, the Filipino word for breaking free, focused on creating sustainable and ethical products. The name was a personal tribute to her own journey of breaking free from the chains of her past. She poured every ounce of her savings and her soul into this venture, working tirelessly from a tiny rented office that was barely bigger than a closet. Her early days as an entrepreneur were a reflection of her early life, a constant struggle, but one she faced with unshakable resolve and a clear vision. Slowly but surely, Alpas began to grow. Anna's unique combination of sharp business acumen and genuine compassion resonated with both employees and customers. She built her company on a foundation of respect, fairness, and a commitment to doing good in the world. She treated her staff not as subordinates, but as partners in her vision, fostering a work environment that was supportive and empowering, the very opposite of the world she had grown up in. Her leadership was defined by empathy. She understood the struggles of others because she had lived them. This authentic approach to business set her apart, and her company's reputation for both quality and integrity began to spread far and wide. Within a decade, Alpas had become a leading name in the industry, a multi-million-dollar corporation with offices across the country. Anna, the forgotten orphan, was now a celebrated CEO, a feature in business magazines, and an inspiration to many. She lived in a beautiful home, drove a nice car, and wore elegant clothes, but the material success never changed the core of who she was. She remained humble, grounded, and deeply grateful for the life she had built. She established a foundation to support orphanages and provide educational scholarships for underprivileged children, ensuring that others would have the same opportunities she had fought so hard to create for herself, turning her pain into a purpose that helped others. Despite her immense success, Anna never forgot where she came from. The memories of the dusty orphanage yard, the sting of cruel words, and the lonely nights remained a part of her story. However, they no longer held the power to cause her pain. Instead, they served as a constant reminder of the importance of kindness and the incredible power of the human spirit to overcome adversity. Her success was not just measured in profits and market shares, but in the positive impact she had on the world, and in the quiet strength she found in knowing she had remained true to the little girl who chose to be good in a world that was not. One ordinary Tuesday afternoon, as Anna was reviewing a stack of applications for a managerial position, a familiar name caught her eye. Marco Reyes. A jolt went through her, a phantom echo of old pain and humiliation. It had been nearly 2 decades, but the name instantly transported her back to the orphanage, to the boy who had been the architect of so much of her childhood misery. A wave of conflicting emotions washed over her, anger, bitterness, and a surprising flicker of curiosity. For a moment, she considered tossing the application into the bin, an act of petty revenge that she was more than entitled to. It would be so easy to deny him, to let him remain a stranger. But that was not the woman Anna had become. She paused, took a deep breath, and instructed her assistant to schedule an interview. She knew she had to face this ghost from her past, not for him, but for herself. The day of the interview arrived, and a nervous, middle-aged man was shown into her expansive office. He looked tired, the arrogance of his youth replaced by the weary lines of a life that had clearly not been easy. He did not recognize her at first, seeing only the powerful CEO of Alpus. He began his pitch, his voice trembling slightly, speaking of his experience and his desperate need for this job to support his family. As he spoke, Anna listened patiently. When he finished, she looked at him directly and said, her voice calm and gentle, "Marco, do you remember a little girl named Anna from the St. Jude orphanage?" His face went pale as recognition dawned, followed by a deep, gut-wrenching shame. He stammered, unable to form words, the memory of his cruelty crashing down on him in the presence of its victim, who now held his future in her hands. He expected anger, retribution, a lecture on his past behavior. He prepared himself for the humiliation he so richly deserved, his eyes cast down towards the floor, unable to meet her gaze. Instead of anger, Anna offered him a soft smile. "Marco," she began, "the past was a long time ago. We were just children shaped by circumstances we didn't understand. I have carried those memories for a long time, but I chose not to let them define me with bitterness." She stood up, walked around her desk, and extended her hand. "The man I see before me today is not the boy from yesterday. You are qualified for this position. Welcome to Alpus." Tears welled up in Marco's eyes as he shook her hand, a silent testament to the immense grace he had just been shown. In that moment, Anna achieved her greatest success, not building an empire, but building a bridge of forgiveness over a chasm of old pain.